अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। हरिः ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति चे भूरिदा जनाः। ओम नमो भगवते श्री रामकृष्ण। Welcome to the 11th week of our class, Readings and Reflections on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. From the book The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, page 111, chapter 4, Advice to Householders. The master was conversing with Kedar and some other devotees in his room in the temple garden. Kedar was a government official and had spent several years at Dhaka in East Bengal, where he had become a friend of Vijay Goswami. The two would spend a great part of their time together, talking about Sri Ramakrishna and his spiritual experiences. Kedar had once been a member of the Brahmo Samaj. He followed the path of bhakti. Spiritual talk always brought tears to his eyes. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Kedar was very happy that day, having arranged a religious festival for Sri Ramakrishna. A singer had been hired by Ram and the whole day passed in joy. The master explained to the devotees the secret of communion with God. Master: with the realization of Satchidananda, one goes into Samadhi, then duties drop away. Suppose I have been talking about the Ustad and he arrives. What need is there of talking about him then? How long does the bee buzz around? So long as it isn't sitting on a flower. But it will not do for the sadhaka to renounce duties. He should perform his duties such as worship, japa, meditation, prayer and pilgrimage. If you see someone engaged in reasoning, even after he has realized God, you may liken him to a bee which also buzzes a little even while sipping honey from a flower. The master was highly pleased with the Ustad's music. He said to the musician, "There is a special manifestation of God's power in a man who has any outstanding gift, such as proficiency in music." Musician: "Sir, what is the way to realize God?" Master: "Bhakti is the one essential thing. To be sure, God exists in all beings. Who then is a devotee? He whose mind dwells on God. But this is not possible as long as one has egotism and vanity. The water of God's grace cannot collect on the high mount of egotism. It runs down. I am a mere machine." To Kedar and other devotees, God can be realized through all paths. All religions are true. The important thing is to reach the roof. You can reach it by stone stairs or by wooden stairs or by bamboo steps or by a rope. You can also climb up by a bamboo pole. You may say that there are many errors and superstitions in another religion. I should reply, suppose there are. Every religion has errors. Everyone thinks that his watch alone gives the correct time. It is enough to have yearning for God. It is enough to love Him and feel attracted to Him. Don't you know that God is the inner guide? He sees the longing of our heart and the yearning of our soul. Suppose a man has several sons. The older boys address him distinctly as Baba or Papa, but the babies can at least call him Ba or Pa. Now, will the father be angry with those who address him in this indistinct way? The father knows that they too are calling him, only they cannot pronounce his name well. All children are the same to the Father. Likewise, the devotees call on God alone, though by different names. They call on one person only. God is one, but His names are many. Thursday, August 24th, 1882. Sri Ramakrishna was talking to Hazra on the long northeast veranda of his room when Yam arrived. He saluted the master reverently. Master, I should like to visit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar a few times more. The painter first draws the general outlines and then puts in the details and colors at his leisure. The molder first makes the image out of clay, then plasters it, then gives it a coat of whitewash, and last of all paints it with a brush. All these steps must be taken successively. Vidyasagar is fully ready, but his inner stuff is covered with a thin layer. He is now engaged in doing good works, but he doesn't know what is within himself. Gold is hidden within him. God dwells within us. If one knows that, one feels like giving up all activities and praying to God with a yearning soul. So the master talked with Yam, now standing, now pacing up and down the long veranda. Master, a little spiritual discipline is necessary in order to know what lies within. Yam, is it necessary to practice discipline all through life? Master, no. But one must be up and doing in the beginning. After that, one need not work hard. The helmsman stands up and clutches the rudder firmly as long as the boat is passing through waves, storms, high wind, or around the curves of a river. But he relaxes after steering through them. As soon as the boat passes the curves and the helmsman feels a favorable wind, he sits comfortably and just touches the rudder. Next, he prepares to unfurl the sail and gets ready for a smoke. Likewise, the aspirant enjoys peace and calm after passing the waves and storms of woman and gold. Some are born with the characteristics of the yogi, but they too should be careful. It is woman and gold alone that is the obstacle. It makes them deviate from the path of yoga and drags them into worldliness. Perhaps they have some desire for enjoyment. After fulfilling their desire, they again direct their minds to God and thus recover their former state of mind, fit for practice of yoga. Have you ever seen the spring trap for fish called the Shaktakal? Yeah, no sir, I haven't seen it. Master, they use it in our part of the country. One end of a bamboo pole is fastened in the ground and the other is bent over with a catch. From this end, a line with a hook hangs over the water with bait tied to the hook. When the fish swallows the bait, suddenly the bamboo jumps up and regains its upright position. Again, take a pair of scales for example. If a weight is placed on one side, the lower needle moves away from the upper one. The lower needle is the mind, the upper one God. The meeting of the two is yoga. Unless the mind becomes steady, there cannot be yoga. It is the wind of worldliness that always disturbs the mind, which may be likened to a candle flame. If that flame doesn't move at all, then one is said to have attained yoga. Woman and gold alone is the obstacle to yoga. Always analyze what you see. What is there in the body of a woman? Only such things as blood, flesh, fat, entrails and the like. Why should one love such a body? Sometimes I used to assume a Rajasic mood in order to practice renunciation. Once I had the desire to put on a gold embroidered robe, wear a ring on my finger and smoke a hubble bubble with a long pipe. Mathur Babu procured all these things for me. I wore the gold embroidered robe and said to myself after a while, "Oh mind, this is what is called a gold embroidered robe." Then I took it off and threw it away. I couldn't stand the robe anymore. Again I said to myself, "Mind, this is called a shawl, and this is a ring, and this smoking a hubble bubble with a long pipe." I threw those things away once for all, and the desire to enjoy them never arose in my mind again. It was almost dusk. The master and M stood talking alone near the door on the southeast veranda. Master to M: the mind of the yogi is always fixed on God, always absorbed in the self. You can recognize such a man by merely looking at him. His eyes are wide open with an aimless look, like the eyes of the mother bird hatching her eggs. Her entire mind is fixed on the eggs, and there is a vacant look in her eyes. Can you show me such a picture? Yeah, I shall try to get one. As evening came on, the temples were lighted up. Sri Ramakrishna was seated on his small couch, meditating on the Divine Mother. Then he chanted the names of God. Incense was burned in the room where an oil lamp had been lighted. Sounds of conch shells and gongs came floating on the air as the evening worship began in the temple of Kali. The light of the moon flooded all the quarters. The master again spoke to him. Master, perform your duties in an unselfish spirit. The work that Vidyasagar is engaged is in very good. Always tries to perform your duties without desiring any result. Yeah. Yes, sir. But may I know if one can realize God while performing one's duties? Can Ram and desire coexist? The other day, I read in a Hindi couplet, "Where Ram is, there desire cannot be. Where desire is, there Ram cannot be." Master, all without exception perform work. Even to chant the name and glories of God is work, as is the meditation of the non-dualist on I am He. Breathing is also an activity. There is no way of renouncing work altogether. So do your work, but surrender the result to God. Yeah, sir, may I make an effort to earn more money? Master, it is permissible to do so to maintain a religious family. You may try to increase your income, but in an honest way. The goal of life is not the earning of money, but the service of God. Money is not harmful if it is devoted to the service of God. Yeah. How should long a man feel obliged to do his duty towards his wife and children? Master, as long as they feel pinched for food and clothing. But one need not take the responsibility of a son when he is able to support himself. When the young fledgling learns to pick its own food, its mother pecks it if it comes to her for food. Yeah. How long must one do one's duty? Master. The blossom drops off when the fruit appears. One doesn't have to do one's duty after the attainment of God, nor does one feel like doing it then. If a drunkard takes too much liquor, he cannot retain consciousness. If he takes only 2 or 3 glasses, he can go on with his work. As you advance nearer and nearer to God, He will reduce your activities little by little. Have no fear. Finish the few duties you have at hand, and then you will have peace. When the mistress of the house goes to bathe after finishing her cooking and other household duties, she won't come back, however you may shout after her. This is chapter 4. It is titled by M as Advice to Householders. So we have seen by our senior Swamis that in all the retreats that we hold, where householders are together sitting, and some portion from this chapter is regularly read. And our senior Swamis have also advised that even if you don't do the whole chapter of the book of the gospel, at least the 4th chapter must be read. Some devotees have read so much, almost all the questions by the devotees raised in this chapter, and also the answers given by Sri Ramakrishna are by heart to them. So in that way, this chapter gains a very important place in our devotee's life. So it's a very beautiful chapter that we have come now. We shall see, just reflect upon some of the thoughts that Sri Ramakrishna has given us here. We saw earlier that Sri Ramakrishna met Ishwar Vidyasagar, as we discussed about Vidyasagar, a great man, no doubt. But Sri Ramakrishna observed one particular defect in him, and that was he has such a gold within himself which he was not aware of. So Sri Ramakrishna puts it in this way, that the gold is within him, a very light, thin veil is there. Only he has to remove that veil, then he would know who is he. Such a great man, a man of erudition, learning, and also a great man of giving, like Dan. He used to do charity so much, and he has worked for the society. That person, about him, Sri Ramakrishna just recollects his meeting with him, and he tells him, see how wonderful it is that I should like to visit Ishwar Vidyasagar a few times more. He was so fascinated by Vidyasagar's good qualities, and he wants to visit him more. Of course he couldn't visit later, but he says, I should like to visit. So, and he says how he is so fascinated about Vidyasagar. So, in this chapter he recollects this August 13th, 1882, he says that the secret of communion with God is what he is explaining. M says, what he explains to him on that day, when August 13th, when M went to meet him, Kedar and some other devotees were there in the temple garden. So a few devotees were there, along with Kedar. And Kedar is a fine gentleman, and Master used to like him, because he used to understand that Kedar has got bhakti in him. So he used to love this gentleman. And Vijay Goswami, close friend, was Kedar. Kedar is from Dhaka. He had come from East Bengal to West Bengal. He has come, and he is working as a magistrate. So whenever he used to come to Sri Ramakrishna, he would always ask Sri Ramakrishna some questions, very pertinent questions, which are all very useful for us also. So, this time, Sri Ramakrishna is explaining to him what is the secret of communion with God. He says, God is one and God is Sachidananda, and that Sachidananda can be realized in Samadhi. So, God can be realized in this very life. And what is the nature of God? God is Sachidananda, Sat, Chit, Ananda. These are the three qualities Vedanta refers when it calls about Brahman. So, in English, of course, we use the term God. But in Sanskrit literature, you find, particularly Vedanta, uses at different places and different terminologies. So, sometimes you will come across this Brahman. Sometimes you will find Nirakara Brahman. Sometimes the Vedanta declares Sakara Brahman. Sometimes it says Parabrahman. Sometimes certain terms comes like that Ishvara. And then Ishvara's avatars, Avatara Purushas. And then Guru. Like that up to Guru it comes in different terms it uses. And you can see at different places it has got different connotations. Like for instance in Bhakti literature, you find the same Brahman is called, who is becoming a Sakara Brahman, that means with qualities. Sakara means with qualities, with form, and Saguna means with qualities. So with Sakara and Saguna, Brahman comes and he becomes Ishvara. And the Bhakti literature calls him as Bhagavan. So there are different terminologies can be used in our languages. But in English, only one word is used, God. So when sometimes it creates some confusion also. When you say that God can be realized and God cannot be realized, Brahman cannot be known. Now you translate it as God cannot be realized. But in some other place, in Bhakti literature we say God can be realized, Bhagavan can be realized. So there is a difference in the terminologies and in the connotation also. But when you use the same word everywhere, then the confusion may come in people. So people raise, we have seen questions come up from the devotees, because the one word that we use, God, for everything, it creates confusion. So here also he says, God is one, God can be realized in Samadhi. Then duties drop away. So he gives an example, Ustad. Ustad means whoever sings very well, or in any profession you can say Ustad. So even in accountancy, if you are an expert, you are called Ustad in accountancy, Ustad in music. So the musician was there. Kedar brought a musician on the day, and the musician sang so wonderfully. So he was very happy. Actually, yesterday we had such a nice music arrangement. I only feel for those devotees who could not attend. It was only 1.5 hours. And the music went on. First, the Todi Raga, he elaborated in such a way and made it. And then Bhageshwari he sang. So beautiful ragas he took up. Only 1.5 hours, but then it was very, very intense. And because he had such a nice tabla player who came from France, and the tabla and music, the vocal music, it was so beautifully arranged, and we all immensely enjoyed that. And finally he asked me, what do you want? So, from the audience. So I told him, can you play some kaharwa? I want to listen to kaharwa. And 2 bhajans he sang for that. So it was so wonderful. When you have somebody who is an expert in music, then what? Is it considered as a special manifestation of God? So Sri Ramakrishna says, yes, it is a special manifestation. If you see someone engaged in reasoning, the master was highly pleased with the Ustad music. He said to the musician, there is a special manifestation of God's power in a man who has any outstanding gift. That's why any. Sri Ramakrishna says any. The same thing has been said earlier by Sri Krishna in the Gita also. the 10th chapter, Sri Krishna says, whoever has got an outstanding gift, know Arjuna, that gift is from me, he says. So God gives that gift. So it's a special manifestation. So God's gift means what? It's not that he is giving to somebody, he manifests as that particular gift. So he says there's a special manifestation. Then immediately the musician puts one question. Sir, what is the way to realize God? And here Sri Ramakrishna could clearly see what is the nature of the musician and the nature of the devotees who are sitting there. Kedar, Vijay and other devotees who are sitting there. He could know immediately. The same question would have attracted a different type of answer from Sri Ramakrishna if he had only Narayan, Rakhal and Hari and all those boys. You can see here the difference here. How beautifully Sri Ramakrishna says, Bhakti is the one essential thing. Sri Ramakrishna would not talk like this to Narayan. When Narayan used to go to him and when he is alone on some other days, not on the Sundays, because Sundays many householders used to come to him. So he would ask Narayan to take up such literature, such books of Ashtavakra Gita. He says, you take it and read that. So such books he would give him to give him the greatest, highest philosophy of Advaita Vedanta. But here he says, Bhakti is the one essential thing. And he says, who is a devotee? Okay, we accept Bhakti is the one essential thing for God realization. And we are all Bhaktas. Because we all Bhaktas have come together. Then, how do you know that a person is a Bhakta? Says, he whose mind dwells on God, he is a devotee. But this is not possible as long as one has egotism and vanity. So he gives a beautiful example that water cannot stand all the time on the mount region. It has to come down. Water has to come down. It runs down. So what is that mount where God's grace cannot stand? And that is egotism and vanity. We all have egotism. Yes, little egotism is necessary to construct our daily activities. Otherwise, we cannot do anything. Without egotism, nothing can be done. A little egotism is required. But there is more egoism also is there. In egoism also, as a degrees of its level. So there are high egotism is there. And if the musician, suppose we appreciate a musician that you have sung very well, then what he says? He says, it is God's grace. So that shows that egotism is not so much. And if he replies, no, today my throat was not all right. You must have heard me when my throat was good. Like that if he says, that means he's fully egoistic person. But if he says, no, it is God's grace, he accepts that. So that shows that his egoism is less. Then he looks at Kedar and he says, one important teaching comes here in this paragraph, that God can be realized through all paths. This is a very, very Joto mat toto pat. That is what in Bengali we say. And through all paths one can reach God. This has been so many times misinterpreted also. And many people question this very statement of Sri Ramakrishna. Why did Sri Ramakrishna say like that? All paths are not same. But you will find very carefully if you read, never Sri Ramakrishna says, all paths are same. He never says. He says, all paths are true. All paths lead to God. That doesn't mean all paths are same. Because there may be highways, and there may be small roads, and there may be small lanes also. So, he is not telling that all paths are of the same features. No. So you find in different religions have got different types of paths are there. So the question comes from the mind of the people that is it proper? So he says, Sri Ramakrishna himself raises the question. You may say that there are many errors and superstitions in another religion. I am following a particular religion, but I find in another religion there are superstitions are there, errors are there. So many types of errors we can point out in other religions. If you are a Christian, you can point out in Hinduism and Islam. If you are Hindu, you can point out errors in Christianity and Islam. Like that, if you are a Muslim, you can also say other religions have got their own errors. So like that, we can go on bringing out all the errors. So, if there are really errors, and if they are accepted as errors by the society, and these defects are known to each other, how can you say that all paths are true? So this is a very valid question. So here only Sri Ramakrishna's beautiful reply you must see. Every religion has errors. So he admits, yes, every path has got certain problems. Okay, everyone thinks that his watch alone gives the correct time. But he says, it is enough to have yearning for God. It is enough to love Him and feel attracted to Him. Don't you know that God is the inner guide? So he gives a beautiful example here that a father has two sons. One son is elder, one son is younger. The younger son cannot even start talking now. So he is only calling his father Pa. But the elder son is grown up, so he calls Baba. It's a correct word he says. So Sri Ramakrishna is asking a question to us. If you say that the different religions have got different errors and they are all defective. If you say that, it is like this, that there are children who have not grown up and who are calling only God Pa. But to the God level, to God, whether he is calling correctly or incorrectly, it doesn't matter. Because he knows that his son is calling him. Because the son's love and affection is towards his father. So father understands the love and affection of the offspring. So he knows whether you pronounce it rightly or not. What is the meaning here? He says that God is within everyone. If that is acceptable by all religions, then is not God's duty to tell that all the people, if there is any error, it is his duty to correct it. Very first meeting of Yam with Sri Ramakrishna, you must remember, when Sri Ramakrishna is telling, Yam asked him about the Kali Puja. Kali worshipped in Murti. And Sri Ramakrishna explained to him, this is not Murti. The spirit, the force of the Mother Kali is in this Murti. Nobody prays to any stone, he says. Everybody prays to the beyond only, not to the stone. When Sri Ramakrishna explained this, Yam was very happy. And he says, then why don't you tell all the people the truth about this Murti worship? Sri Ramakrishna gets irritated and he says, oh, you Calcuttans, only you want to lecture and lecture and lecture, he says. Only go and lecture, give lecture to others. Then he asks him, is not God within each one of us? If God is within each one of us, and if I am going a wrong path, is it not his duty to correct me? So he will correct me. So why you want to correct the whole world? So let the world be there. And let the other religions, if they have defects, let them have it. You don't need to worry about this. What is your duty as a devotee? Your duty is to increase the love and yearning for God. That is what insists. So this is the spiritual core which Sri Ramakrishna touches in our lives. And he doesn't want to go into the peripheral. He just wants into the core of the problem. And he says, once you start developing love for God, you will not look for the defects in others. And you will accept every religion as true. Though the paths may be different, one may be straight, one may be crooked, it doesn't matter. But they all will lead to one God. So he says, likewise, the devotees call on God alone give whatever name, the different names. They call on one person only. This is the personality of God, we say. So person. So the God is with Saguna, Sakara. These two are there, then he is called a person. So God becomes a person. The Nirakar, Nirguna, Brahman becomes Ishvara, and Ishvara takes a form. And the form comes means immediately the qualities will be there. You see, when that same Ishvara takes a Krishna form, the qualities of Krishna are there. When the same Ishvara takes the form of Rama, the Rama's qualities are there. So each personification you will find the qualities also come together. So Saguna, Sakar, Ishvara becomes that both are there. So that he is a person only. God is one, but his names are many. This is one of the beautiful teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. And whoever follows Sri Ramakrishna, that person must be convinced at the core of the heart that yes, every religion is true. You can never doubt about another religion. So whatever path a person takes, and his our object is that I must reach God. For that he chooses a path. Okay, that path also you encourage. Okay, you are having a particular path, you practice that. Do it, practice. And if any defect is there within you, that as God who is residing within you as Antaryami, he will guide you. So another person need not worry about that. That is a very beautiful way of Sri Ramakrishna's putting it. And then on Thursday, August 24th, we come where Yam debates about Sri Ramakrishna's feelings about Vidyasagar. And he is so fond of Vidyasagar now, it seems. And he says that he talks to Yam about the signs of yogi. The yogi yes. The yogi keeps, what is the sign of yogi? The yogi's sign is that whatever comes, whatever he does, whatever he talks, whatever he does, his mind is centered on God. That is the person who called yogi. Here a beautiful example he gives of taraju. You know, we all know the weighing scale, taraju. In taraju, in weighing scale, in the middle, you'll find there are two needles are there. One long needle and one small needle, short needle. And in one, you put, say, 1 kg weight. Then the other side goes up because nothing is there. And the weight scale comes down, that pan comes down. And that means that one needle goes down. So he says that the lower needle, that needle which goes down because of the weight of Kamini Kanchana, the woman and gold. So because of the weight, it has gone down, and that is the mind. The lower needle is the mind. The upper one, that is God. And uniting these two is, the meeting of the two is yoga. What a beautiful way, with the example he gives. Actually the yoga comes from the Sanskrit word yuj, to unite. And that is the literal meaning of the word. Yuj means to unite. From yuj the word has come yoga, or yoga you say. And nowadays of course they call yoga, they pronounce it like that. But then it is yoga or yogo. In Bengali we say jog, he said that. So that jog, what we call it, it is a meeting of the two, of the upper needle and the lower needle. So when the mind becomes steady, it is yoga. And when the mind is not steady, it cannot be yoga. Then what is that unsteadiness comes in the mind that is disturbing us? So he says, the worldliness disturbs the mind. What is the worldliness? It is called wind of worldliness. So when you light a lamp and the lamp is burning, and there is suddenly you open a window and the wind comes. At that time the lamp, the flame cannot be steady. So you have to close the window. There should be no wind, and then the lamp is steadily burning. So he says that the wind of worldliness disturbs the mind. which may be likened to a candle flame. If that flame doesn't move at all, then one is said to have attained yoga. So, this practice of renunciation, then he explains. He tells Yam that Yam is a very good sadhaka. And even after, much after Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, when he was living, many boys used to go to Yam and he would advise them the same renunciation that Master advised him. And he used to encourage these boys and to renounce the world and become monks. And then like that many people have been inspired by Yam. Though Yam was a householder, but he was a great inspirer of many, many people. Those who have gone to Yam's house recently must have seen that has come under the control of the Ramakrishna mission now. So Ramakrishna Mutt has taken over, Bellu Mutt has taken over. So it's a beautiful place, and you can see the place where Yam used to sit and write this gospel. It's a small room. How did he stay there and how did he write, When I came here, I saw my room, so small room, like that I thought. Because in other places, Ranchi, etc., big room he had. But then, you see Yam's room. What a smallest type of room he had, and the cot and the room's two walls are equal. That's all. And then he's got things, his used things are kept now. When you can't even put your foot in that room because it is so jam-packed with things. And that room you see from outside, so that's a great thing. But at least his cot is there. And where he used to sit and write this. So, that in that small room, he used to write down. And these these wonderful ideas of Sri Ramakrishna, he wrote it down for all of us. And then Sri Ramakrishna is asking him, the yogi, because his mind is always fixed on God, how does he appear externally? This is very interesting thing Sri Ramakrishna points out. The mind of the yogi is always fixed on God. He is absorbed in the self. Then how does he recognize him? By merely looking at him, can you recognize that he is a yogi? He says, yes. His eyes are wide open with an aimless look. Even we also have that sometimes. Sometimes you are sitting and listening to me, but your eyes are having a vacant look, we say. So vacant look comes. So mind is somewhere else, not at the place where you are sitting and watching. So you must have noticed when you are even seeing the television, your mind has gone out and it is there, that's all. But mind is somewhere. So his eyes are wide open, no doubt. And then he says, like the eyes of the mother bird hatching her eggs. How beautifully he has visualized that a mother bird sitting on the eggs hatching. At that time, how the eyes of the mother bird, how can he would have seen that, It's so strange. We are also seeing so many birds. Rather, we also see the birds sitting on their eggs. But we could never notice this particular idea, you see. And how he compares it to a yogi. A yogi, he says, that her entire mind is fixed on the eggs. But then, there is a vacant look in her eyes. Can you show me such a picture? For that, Yam has to go here and there. And finally, one artist has drawn a picture of a bird, a dove, and it is sitting in its nest and it is looking up. That picture finally he got. And one day later, he brings to Sri Ramakrishna and shows him, is this the picture you wanted? Ramakrishna was so happy. Because he immediately remembered the yogi. See, whenever you see externally anything, does it make you remember God or any religious principle? Anything. And that is how the mind has to be trained. And for Sri Ramakrishna, it was already trained mind. So whatever he sees, he could immediately take the mind to that level where he can compare with that. And then the beautiful description of Master comes, Yam comes. Yam always describes everything so beautifully. When you are sitting here, as if today I have gone to Dakshineswar now. That's how that para, again I will read it to you. Sri Ramakrishna was seated on a small couch, meditating on the Divine Mother. Then he chanted the names of God. He used to say Ma, 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 meaning Mother Kali. And also, he would take the other names of God also. Sometimes he would say, Hey Krishna, Hey Madhava, Hey Govinda, Hey Yadava, like that. Sometimes he would say mother's names, like that, different names he would take. Incense was burnt in the room where an oil lamp had been lighted. Sounds of conch shells and gongs came floating on the air as the evening worship began in the temple of Kali. Kali temple Arati was started. So when it started, the gongs are played. You must have seen gongs, round gongs are there. Generally they are Buddhist monasteries, you will find the gong being played. And seeing such gong in Tibet, Swamiji said, in Belur Math I must have gong for the Khandana Bhavabandhana. Even today we all use that gong. It's a small only plate only as a frame, and in that they keep it that gong. I have seen the smallest size of gong and big size also I have seen. So when I went to Nepal for one of our centers in Calcutta, they asked me to get the gong. So I purchased from Pashupatinath place and brought to them. So the gong is, yes, that is available in Nepal very much and Tibet also. So they say that gong's sound was so wonderful because once you strike it and the sound goes on, slowly tapering, like the Om sound. Slowly it goes. So it reminds us that Om sound. So and it is so fitting to our Khandana Bhavabandhana song, So beautiful it is. The light of the moon flooded all the quarters. The master again spoke to him. So in this last paragraph that we read, here Sri Ramakrishna says, perform your duties in an unselfish spirit. And so Yam asked certain questions about duties. So he says, yes, you can do your duty. Can I earn more money? This is also a question he asked. Should I be happy with what I am earning now or should I earn more? He said, yes, by all sake, yes, earn more money, but in an honest way. That's all. The goal of life is not the earning of money, but the service of God. So if you earn more money and you can spend that more money in the service of God, there is nothing wrong in that. And you earn it in an honest way, there is no wrong at all. And then he says, how long I should continue my duty towards my wife and children. He says, as long as they feel pinched for food and clothing, when you see that they are not being cared, no one to care of, till that time you have to take care of them. Once a son grows and stands on his own legs, you don't need to take care of him. So your duty towards him doesn't stay on. So it can come down. So like that he gives him. And then finish all the few duties that you have at hand. And then you will have peace. That's what he gives. With this, we close this week. Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampa Drita Vikraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namama. Hari Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishnaya. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.